Oh, hello there, my lads. Welcome once more to my channel. Today I'm back doing the book reviews. At last, I've got a whole stack of them ready to go. But today I want to continue my quest to find science fiction that's so bad it's bloody amazing. Now, on this channel, as you all know, Eando Binder's Night of the Sorcerers is the gold standard for this phenomenon. It's incredibly bad, but oh so good. You feel quite guilty reading it actually, and enjoying it. But I'm always looking for titles that might topple old Binder from his lofty perch. Today, will we find such a title? Well, who knows? In fact, it is today Harry Harrison's Plague from Space. Now, this was indirectly recommended to me by my friend Christian, who incidentally I met through my channel. He's all the way down in Argentina, but he's a keen reader of old vintage science fiction. And he said there's definite issues with this book. A fair dollop of sexism, a bit stupid perhaps, but quite enjoyable. So yeah, my heart began to quicken. In fact, it skipped a couple of beats when I read the back, and there's this little tagline here, and we'll just read this out to you now. Right, spacecraft, the Pericles. Type, manned exploration. Destination, Jupiter. Cargo, extinction. So that kind of melodramatic tagline will always get me. But anyway, before we go any further, I like to have a little gander at the copy that is in my possession first. Here's the scan of this particular edition. Quite a fine image, I think you'll agree. Later on, there'll be some other editions that have appeared throughout the years. I couldn't find all of them. They're quite hard to find, apparently. But I was rather pleased when I got this one. I think I just got it from World of Books or something like that. I only paid a few pounds for it. But it's in immaculate condition. This is a 1981 edition. Spine is wonderful. I've read it again. I mean, it's fine. There's a slight dent on the back, but nothing to write home about. Originally published in 1965. But I did do a bit of reading, and apparently it was reissued in the 80s. It was probably around this time, actually, 81. And it was expanded, and I think it was given a different name. It was like Plague from Jupiter or Jupiter Plague, something like that. I'm not quite sure how you would improve on this personally. I think it is what it is, really. But there we are. But yeah, Harry Harrison, fine name, isn't it? Rolls off the tongue, quite wonderful. But yeah, this cursory reading I did, it wasn't his original name. He wasn't born Harry. It was Henry Maxwell Dempsey. Yeah, not quite as good, is it? So yeah, I think he did well there changing the name. Have any of you read much of Harry Harrison? This is the very first one I've ever read. As you will find out, it's not a particularly good book, in my opinion, but he seems to be very well known for the Stainless Steel Rat series and Dead World. I think that was a trilogy. I remember seeing some of his books in the library, actually, as a child, the Stainless Steel Rat ones. But yeah, this isn't quite as good, but we'll get down to that in a moment. So anyway, what's it all about? So the whole story revolves around a doctor, Dr. Sam Bertolli. Now, he was formerly a captain in the army, but he's traded his fatigues for a doctor's white coat. He's in his first year as a kind of an intern, I suppose, and he rides around in a kind of an ambulance on steroids, really, driven by a mad bastard called Killer, of all things. And so they go off to various like road traffic accidents, things like that, and he does his stuff. Anyway, early on in the book, they get this call that they have to go to JFK Airport. This is all centered in New York. And a spaceship, a long-lost spaceship, the Pericles, has done an emergency landing on the airport itself. There's bloody devastation everywhere. It's caused a lot of damage. And so the good doctor and his mad bastard of a driver head straight for the airport. Upon reaching the site, they see this great big towering spaceship. This spaceship, incidentally, has been lost for a number of years, a couple of years at least. It was on a mission to Jupiter. They lost contact. They assumed the thing had gone bang, perhaps. But anyway, it's back. There's only one survivor, however, Commander Rand, who stumbles out of the ship looking a right bloody state. He's close to death and soon actually does die. But unfortunately, he's carrying some kind of disease. They don't know this at the time, of course, but the good doctor and killer bundle the commander into the ambulance and off they go. But just before they leave, the doctor's keen eye notices a number of dead birds on the floor. So already this disease is working its evil magic. Thereafter, this plague becomes known as Rand's disease. They have no idea what it is, where it's come from. They're assuming it's an alien disease come from Jupiter, but they don't know what to do, really. It's killing people left, right and centre, but it appears to be transferring to birds first and then into humans, and there's various things going on. That side of it didn't really appeal to me. It was slightly laboured and slightly, puzzling, really. Didn't really make much sense. But there we are. There it is in a nutshell. It's the good doctor has to try and save the day. Using the skills he's acquired over the years as a military man, as well as his medical knowledge of, well, not much really, but he does quite well with the little he knows. Apologies, there's going to be some noise in the background because it's lunchtime, so all of the college students start bimbling past, but I'll try to bravely soldier on. What I normally do is I'll talk about what I liked and what I didn't like, and then we'll give it a rating at the end if you don't mind. So let's begin with what I liked. The first thing to say is it's very well written. Next to Eando Binder's work, it makes old Binder look like a gibbering idiot. But that aside, it is also a very, very fun romp. In the tradition of perhaps a boy's adventure book, it was less science fiction than that in a way. So the doctor and killer tearing around the streets of New York, the doctor practicing medicine wherever he goes, which largely amounts to slapping bandages on pretty much anything that moves. The driver, killer, he drives at breakneck speed wherever they go. I mean, whether it's needed or not. I know ambulances have to get to where they're going pretty fast, but old killer just goes completely berserk. And his ambulance is powered by some kind of turbine or something, although it does have wheels, so it's nothing like the one on the cover that's hovering majestically there. It's nothing like that. This is 4 wheels, but with a fucking great engine on it. So they're risking lives wherever they go, but then when they get there, it's all good. The doctor weaves his magic. In the tradition of a boy's adventure book, there's fighting, there's guns, there's rioters as society starts to break down with this spreading disease, people panicking. The doctor, he sees a bit of action in this, it must be said. There's also there's like a covert mission, various kind of military shit going on. So yeah, it's that kind of thing. But yeah, the science fiction element is lacking somewhat. I mean, there's a bit where one of the patient's legs, the doctor's got to sever it off, but he packs it into this like plastic envelope, and later on they're either going to reattach it or grow one or something like that. So that was quite interesting. But later on, there are a couple of chapters that shift perspective to the crew of the Pericles on their mission, landing on Jupiter. That was quite fun, because I was worried that the whole thing was just going to be set in New York and just be about the spreading of the disease, but it wasn't. So that was nice. Yeah, those 2 chapters were quite entertaining. We also got to meet the aliens of the piece, the Jovians. Now, predictably, they have 2 legs, 2 arms and a head, but they're much shorter due to the increased gravity of Jupiter. But they also have some other interesting aspects about them. As it says in the book, they don't have any machine culture as such. They don't have any technology, but they've evolved to the point where they use their biology, their bodies, to an extreme extent. They can pretty much do anything at will. For example, creating a long tendril, not a penis, but a very long, sharp tendril that will poke through the reinforced hull of the Pericles at one point. That was quite interesting. Various other adaptations that are brought into the mix. I thought that was quite interesting. There could have been more of that, perhaps. One thing, I mean, I was deriding this at the beginning when I was reading it, when it mentioned the fact that the surface of Jupiter, I mean, they're talking about surface as though it's something that can be landed on. I'm not sure if we know that to be true in this day and age. But anyway, yeah, you can land on Jupiter. And they said that Jupiter's gravity is 3 times that of Earth or thereabouts. I thought, there's no way. It's got to be way greater than that. But no, sure enough, I looked it up. Jupiter only has, what, 2.5 times the gravity of Earth, just because, I mean, it looks absolutely huge, of course, but it has quite a low mass because it's just gas, isn't it, mostly? So yeah, I had to correct myself there. I was trying to bosh Harry for incorrectly saying that the gravity was wrong, but yeah, no, he got it spot on. Whether or not you could land on Jupiter is another matter. But there we are. The air pressure. Would it be the air pressure, perhaps? That would be. Who cares? Yeah, so I've already said one of the things I didn't like is the fact that this is a boys' adventure book, primarily. The science fiction element is, I mean, is central to the whole story, but it's slightly lacking, perhaps. I was slightly disappointed there wasn't more of the Jupiter scenario being played out. One glaring problem with the book is the not just casual, but ramming it down your throat sexism. I'm sure this is just a sign of the times within which this was written in the mid-60s. This kind of stuff it wasn't considered a problem, it was just normal. So I'm going to read a few little excerpts that will give you an idea of what we're dealing with here. Yeah, so there is a central female character, it must be said. Nita, she's called, a pathologist. She plays quite an important role in the book. So that's one good thing, I suppose. She has some function, other than the fact that otherwise she's used as the love interest for Dr. Bertolli. Okay, so this little bit I'm going to read you now is from the moment that Dr. Bertolli first meets Dr. Nita, the pathologist. Get ready. Dr. Bertolli? A woman's voice asked from behind him. Yes, I am, he said, turning to face her. She was a tall girl whose eyes were almost on a level with his, greenish-grey eyes with a steady gaze. Her hair was a natural red that bordered on russet, and even the shapeless white lab smock could not conceal the richness of her body. Okay, so the first thing the doctor does is just analyse her body, basically, everything about her, and he obviously likes what he sees. Okay, literally, the next page, so they're answering this call to go to JFK Airport to sort out the Pericles, and Bertolli and Nita are sitting in the back of the ambulance driven by that mad bastard killer. The 2 doctors rode in the back, sitting opposite each other, and there was no way that he could avoid noticing that her lab coat was very short, and when she was seated, rode well above her knees, revealing a most attractive length of tanned leg. Much nicer than the last leg that he had brought under his arm. He actually cut someone's leg off, I think I said that earlier. He would rather look at this kind. The medical profession tended to be stern, sterile, and well-ordered, so that whenever a bit of visible femininity managed to penetrate, he went out of his way to make sure that he appreciated it. Good old Dr. Bertolli there. Okay, and just one other thing. So, as I said, this is a boys' adventure book, but there's a tiny paragraph that I stumbled across that was kind of tiptoeing towards, more of a romantic notion. So Bertolli at this point he's got through eyeing her up, and now he's getting slightly more sensitive, but is nevertheless slightly sexist. Okay, this is the bit I was meaning here. It's quite a sensitive reflection of Bertolli, who normally just slaps bandages on things and punches people in the face. A kiss is a contact, a union, an exchange. It is unknown to certain races and tribes, while others know it and consider it with disgust. They all suffer a loss. A kiss can be a cold formula or a token of familial relationship, or a prelude to the act of love. It can also be a revelation in an unspoken, secret language of feelings that have never been expressed in words. Okay, reflective and romantic, the romantic side of Bertolli. But yeah, that kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. But yeah, we know what's going on here. That it's for boys primarily, I'm assuming here. This is the love interest for Bertolli, and later Nita, having done her good work, succumbs to the disease and is then going to die potentially. But luckily, Bertolli then goes on a mission to try and save her. Will he save her? Who knows? My bloody ring just fell off. Keep playing with my ring. Right, okay, so, right, spoiler alert. This is one big spoiler here. So don't listen to this little bit if you want to read it. But Bertolli is successful. He finds the cure. So the mission at the end is to break back into the Pericles, which has been sealed off. So because the plague originated from this craft, the powers that be have decided to seal the bugger up and pretend it doesn't exist. Later on, there's even potential that they're going to drop a nuclear bomb on the thing and raise the whole of New York to stop this disease spreading any further. But only Bertolli and his former general friend had the idea that perhaps the answer to everything is inside the Pericles itself, perhaps a report that was done by one of the crew or something like that. So anyway, they go in this ship. I won't tell you anything more than that, but they find something in there, which is quite interesting, and they find the cure. But two things. The cure that they get is far too easily given, for one. And secondly, we never really find out why these aliens wanted to kill us all off in the first place, despite the fact that they actually talked to one of them. Another spoiler. Apologies. Okay, right, it's time to get the book down and give it a damn good thrashing. Today we're going to be giving it a rating out of brown stars, the rating system I use for particularly bad but good books. So this book, whilst being undoubtedly bad, in my opinion, it doesn't come close to the fuckery that is the Grand Master Eando Binder. For one thing, it's too well written. Next to Harry Harrison, Eando Binder comes across as a caveman scrawling the first gibberish words into the mud with a blunt stick. And the other thing is that Harry Harrison's story largely conforms to a world that is sane. That's the other thing. The things that Eando Binder gets away with in his book Harry Harrison wouldn't have dreamt of doing. So yeah, it falls short in those two respects. So I'm going to give this, because I really enjoyed it. And the sexism actually was quite funny in that context. I'll give this 3 brown stars out of 5. So there we are, 3 brown stars. That's as good as it's going to get. If any of you know any books that might topple Binder from the top of the pile, please do let me know, because I love reading that kind of stuff. Right, so at the moment I'm reading the surprise 4th instalment of the Southern Reach trilogy, Jeff Vandermeer's series of science fiction books. I've just started reading that. I'm quite enjoying it at the moment, so I will be reviewing that at some point. But the very next thing I will be reviewing is the Amtrak Wars series, the 6 books by Patrick Tilley. So that might be next week if I can get my finger out in time from a ring. It's still there. I'll tell you, this ring's all over the place at the moment. It keeps falling off and then ending up in my mouth. Anyway, cheers for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheerio. If that wasn't recording, I'm going to puke. Ooh.